The waters were calm today. Beach Guy stayed near the coast as his brother had instructed. The views were amazing. They passed by an enormous castle with intricate detail. The waters in front of the castle held lines of fierce-looking battleships, and behind them, tall guard towers stood, ready to defend. Cooper checked the maps and saw it was named Castle Watershade.
That's where Empress Miriam lives. She's the leader of the SA,
said Beach Guy. The boys had never seen a castle so big before. The flags with the double sword symbol waved in the wind on the top of its tower. Stuart paraded around the deck with his broom upright, mimicking the guards marching outside of the castle. Everyone laughed.
Maybe you should be a soldier instead of a singer.
The day quickly turned to evening, and the boys all sat inside the captain's quarters, eating the meat-stuffed bread Beach Guy had called Baraz. Accompanying it was a pitcher of Jana fruit juice made from the sweet, tart fruit they had tried in Drendan on their last adventure. They passed by Stoneville, where Benito the watchmaker lived. The boys wished they could have stopped and said hi, but they were on a mission, maybe on their way back. Barasgate wasn't far now. Only a couple of hours more in this darkness, they thought, as they entered Summer Strait. The boys had just finished their food and were all sitting around the table while Stuart steered the ship, humming an old pirate tune. All of a sudden, the servant-fueled lanterns in the cabin all went dark, and a brisk, icy cold wind blew through the cabin.
That's strange,
said Beach Guy. Wesley got up and checked the cylinder that supplied the lights. There were plenty of servant scales still left inside. The boys opened the cabin door and went out to the deck. Another cold breeze swept by them, causing them to shiver. Flakes of snow began to fall down around them in the darkness.
Is Summer Strait usually this cold?
Stuart asked, shivering, as his normal orange glow turned a darker, cooler shade.
No, it's never this cold,
Beach Guy said, looking around confused, his teeth chattering. The giant moon illuminated the ocean enough for Cooper to notice something shadowy in the far distance, approaching fast. Cooper ran and grabbed the spyglass from the captain's quarters. It was a ship, but not a regular ship, and it appeared to be floating above the water. Cooper rubbed his eyes. It can't be possible.
What is it?
Asked Wesley, grabbing the spyglass from Cooper. His mouth dropped as he stared down the scope.
Is that ship flying?
Asked Cooper.
Yeah, it's definitely flying.
Wesley replied nervously. Beach Guy grabbed the spyglass.
It can't be. The haunted galleon?
They looked up at their sails. The magical wind created by the servant fuel was gone. Their boat had stopped dead. Black, dark waters surrounded them. The snow squall had picked up, and the deck was now covered in many inches of white snow. The flying ship crept closer as the snow caused visibility to worsen. Cooper peered through the spyglass, making out white, ghostly figures on board. What were these things? They appeared to be made of ice and snow. Cooper felt something grab his arm. He looked down, seeing panic in Wesley's face.
Cooper, come on, now!
Wesley said with fear in his voice, his eyes locked on something behind them. Cooper looked away from the spyglass. Around them, the snow was starting to swirl and pile together, forming into tall snow ice soldiers. Beach Guy and Stuart were inside the captain's quarters already. Beach Guy began shooting crossbow rounds at the icemen as they were forming.
Hurry up, guys! Run!
Cooper and Wesley began to run towards the open door as the snowmen, holding long swords of ice, continued to form around them. Cooper drew his sword from the sheath. A snow soldier approached swiftly from the side. An ice sword swung towards Cooper's head. Parry! Attack! Cooper thought to himself as he instinctively blocked the blow and returned an attack of his own, slicing the ice figure in half. Wesley had removed the crossbow from his belt and pulled the cable back. Two icemen closed a gap in front of them, blocking their pathway to the open door of the captain's quarters. Wesley placed a shot in the center of one of the creatures as Cooper lunged forward at the other with a devastating blade strike. Both creatures fell to the side. The boys ran to the door as more creatures formed in droves around them. They dove inside the cabin and shut the door, locking it. The flying ship was right next to their boat, and the white ghostly figures on board were getting ready to board their ship. Wesley got a better look at them through a small side window. They resembled human men, but were pale and ghostly white. Their clothes were tattered and frayed. An army of the ice soldiers surrounded the cabin and began to bang on the door, trying to break it down. The boys were completely trapped. This would surely be the end of their adventure.
Any idea of what to do here, guys?
There's no way to escape, and we can't fight them all.
Wesley replied frantically. Cooper took the watch out of his pocket and held it up.
There is one option.
He said seriously, remembering the story of Corinna telling Captain Haas to only use the watch if it meant life or death.
It's our only choice.
Wesley agreed. A large Iceman had formed now. He was gigantic. His arm had become a huge ice hammer. He walked slowly towards the cabin door. One swing from that hammer arm, and the door would rip off its hinges.
Guys, you might want to hurry up.
Beach Guy looked at Cooper and then at the watch.
Okay, let's do it.
They all stood next to each other as Cooper twisted the knob on the top of the watch. Outside the ship, a vortex started to form as the familiar loud whirring began. Then darkness. The ship lurched up and spun around. This time, Cooper opened his eyes and looked out the ship's window into the vortex. The portal had made a warp in space as it twisted and contorted the sky like a runny oil painting. The light from the moon mixed with the darkness of the ocean and then sucked inward, pulling them away. He saw the floating ship and the ghostly white figures that had been attacking them become smaller as the vortex closed in, then pulled them upwards. Cooper noticed the entire ship was going with them. Maybe because they were inside it, he thought. The vortex swallowed the rest of the light and the whirring noise became intensely loud. Then a giant splash. They all opened their eyes and looked around. Cooper noticed the cold, icy wind had gone away and the warm, humid, salty air was back. They opened the cabin door. All the icemen on deck had begun turning into melting puddles now and were slowly starting to stream off the side of the deck into the water below.
It worked.
Beach Guy said in amazement as they all opened their eyes and looked around. They were in the middle of the ocean somewhere, but where? The moon shined down and illuminated the black, placid ocean. There was no land around as far as they could see.
Well, that was quite an intense ride. What an amazing watch. But where did it take us?
Stuart asked as he looked around.
Well, that's the thing. We never know,
Said Wesley, picking himself off the ground.
It just takes us wherever it wants.
Said Cooper.
Better here than back there. Wherever here is.
Beach Guy said, kicking the remains of a mushy iceman off the deck.
That was very close. I'm glad we got away. I fear they would have hurt us very badly if we hadn't.
Said Stuart.
Hurt us? We would have been fish food if we hadn't gotten away.
Wesley exclaimed, still in shock.
Now we just gotta figure out where we are.
Cooper said, picking up the compass that had dropped on the ground.
Let's go north and see where it takes us.
He instructed. Everyone nodded their agreement. They had to start somewhere. The servant fuel had started to work again now, and the ship was picking up speed. Beach Guy positioned the ship north, and off they sailed, into the dark, unknown void.